Also, is also the coordinator of International Human Rights Law Clinic in the Full University. Uh, um, my name is Ahmad Fari, and I got tasked to moderate this event today. So before we are moving into our main event, maybe I can give some brief introduction. As we know, clinical legal education is the name commonly used to deliver legal service, yeah, by and with the involvement of law students acting under professional supervision if applicable. But now, in our Faculty of Law of Hasanuddin University, we already have 8 legal clinics. Uh, I can I can name it, and the first one is criminal law clinic, anti-corruption clinic, civil litigation clinic, agrarian law clinic, IPR clinic, consumer protection clinic, medicine clinic, and the last is environmental law clinic. To support that clinic, we already have 2 legal aid. At the faculty level, we have a legal aid unit. We call them as UKLH as a unit. And the university level, we have a legal aid center. We call them PKBH. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Without further ado, we have 1 hour time, and um, we will take 2 sessions today. And the first one, the presentation from Dr. Prosper, and then the last session, we will discuss about how legal clinic run in the Netherlands. So we can learn experience from the Netherlands, especially from the full university. Okay, for Dr. Prosper, time is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for the kind introductions. It's always a pleasure to be here. And wow, this afternoon, I don't think it's much. This is not a lecture. We are colleagues. So this is, to me, cross-pollination of ideas. I will learn from your experiences in as much as you are also going to learn from experiences colleagues and I at Free University have been gaining, running law clinics and legal aid boards. I've some old slides I'm going to recycle for the purposes of this afternoon talk. So, but please, again, this is not a lecture. I'm just going to use some of these slides so that I can emphasize on some key points. We are not going to talk about setting up of law clinics or legal aid because you already have them. But just briefly, maybe as a reminder, or maybe I can also talk about the motivation why, for instance, in the Netherlands, we have law clinics. Usually when we talk of law clinics or legal aid, the first thing that comes to mind is indigent members of this society. So we think of members of the society who cannot afford legal services on their own, right? I think that was probably the thinking as well here in Indonesia. You set up a clinic because you want also to do some community service. That's also one part of it. But if you look at prosperous communities, I mean, economically speaking, such as the Netherlands, almost everybody can afford a lawyer. So the point of setting up a clinic to assist indigent members of the community is almost non-existent. So legal clinics, we employ them or we set them up most importantly for our students, because we want to give our students experiential learning. We want to give them practical knowledges. So this is one thing that I thought I should make it clear from the beginning that we should understand in as much as we want to compare the setting up and running of clinics in Indonesia and in the Netherlands, we should also bear in mind that we also have various objectives when we set up clinics. So whereas my experiences in most countries that are still in the process of developing, or those that are in transitioning to become bigger economies, we still have the majority of people who can, some of them even illiterate, they cannot even read and write simple Bahasa. to say the list of laws. Law is actually quite difficult. Even some learned people also have problems reading the law. So we also even have to assist people who can read and write. But think of also those members of the society who cannot even read and write. So in the Netherlands, we have everybody is literate, everybody understands the law, everybody can afford to go to a lawyer if they want to go to a lawyer. If you cannot, the government can also assist you with direct payment and you go to a lawyer of your choice. But we still have legal clinics. But that's the first point where I can then mention this difference that legal clinics, we set them up for various reasons. It could be for community service. We want to save the community, especially members of the community that are vulnerable, or sometimes even certain sections of the community. I've been involved in certain countries where they want to set up clinics to assist women and children, to assist refugees, because the members of the refugees don't have any access to lawyers, they are new in a country, and so forth. And so different purposes, different reasons. But ours is basically really experiential legal education. And because of that, I'm also going to then get into another discussion. So if a clinic is set up for the purposes of assisting your students to get practical knowledges. So how do we do it? At least in the Netherlands, at Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam, and the practice is not very much different from many other universities in the Netherlands. We have almost every course can set up a clinic. Whether you are in space law, I know others here, they are doing space law, whether you are in environmental law, whether you are in technology law, my courses, I'm teaching international human rights law and anti-corruption law. We have clinics in all these different subjects. So legal clinics, it becomes part of the curriculum. So students should get, in addition to this old-fashioned way of Socratic knowledge, you come, you stand in front of students, you start reading the textbook or the notes, but you also have to give them an opportunity to actually see the law in practice. So that's why we set up. So at Vrije University, we have a high number of law clinics, up to about 20 clinics. On the other side, clinics also at Vrije University Amsterdam are not very difficult to set up for some reasons, because one, you don't need offices. So we don't have a special office for law clinics. There's no dedicated office. There's one exception, the one clinic that has been dealing with refugee law. They've somehow, for some reasons, managed to get a small mini office that they have. But they are also one of the only clinics at Vrije University Amsterdam that actually does have walk-in clients. Some members of the refugee community actually walk in for advice. But for the majority of ours, we don't have any dedicated class. And then let me get okay, by the way, if you do have any question, contribution, or anything, please just also feel free to just at any time interrupt and contribute, because this is not a session like I had in the morning with students. As I said, this is a round table. It's just that we could not remove the chairs. I would have loved to make it a very big round table so we could just share experiences. Okay, so what I was now moving into my special law clinic. My clinic, the one on international human rights law, it's an old clinic. When I joined Vrije University, it was already existing, and then the coordinator left for greener pastures, and then this was handed over to me. So because it's international human rights, we have to find international human rights law cases. And this may also be a challenge for some of you. How do you get specific cases for your field? So maybe I can pose this as a question, and if anyone can feel free to answer. For those who are running clinics, other clinics, how do you choose cases that you are dealing with to give to students? Do you all have clients walking in? Do you go and solicit for cases? Is it allowed in Indonesia under law to go and look for cases? How do you get cases? let's what's the name of the clinic? Let's look at the, for instance, consumer protection clinic. Who's from the consumer protection? Yeah, so I have a question because it's quite an interesting one because I'm thinking of consumer protection. So how do you deal with the cases? How do you get your cases that you use in your clinic?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So we get cases from the internet, and we see some cases about protection law from the student, and then from the internet where we reading some cases and we apply to the student, how about the cases and how about the to get the solution about the cases with the rule in Indonesia, like that.
Ah, okay, that's interesting. So you look at the internet and see what's topical, and
Yes.
then you give to the students. But in addition to that, do you then actually take the case to any government regulatory board or court?
Yeah,
You get, yeah.
Yeah, we make a comparison with the regulation and with some yeah some regulation in Indonesia to make a good decision for that cases.
Okay, maybe also then one more question, then we move to another. So for instance, you find a case in the internet. What about the clients? Do you have to have the particular client to then assist with that case, or by simply identifying a case, you already have legal standing to take the matter without the actual victims of the violation of, let's say, consumer protection laws?
Yeah, we just do the regulation, and then we see some clients and some cases with the have same cases to make comparison with some cases in consumer protection law, like maybe in banking law, in mediation. So we compare some cases.
Okay, that's thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah, you have also different experience. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For me, I think I have a probably different experience since I have no experience in coordinating legal clinic in law faculty, but I already involved in some cases in legal aid unit in the faculty. Okay, in the legal aid unit in the faculty of law, we almost involved with two kind of cases, and the first cases is about academic about our staff cases, yeah, maybe family law and so on, and from the community. And the most cases in that in the case of the UKBH in the unit is about the divorce case. And I think Mr. Revo can share about his experience, how we get client, and I will translate. Can you share your experience about how to get our community client, especially about the divorce case? Thank you.
Baik Pak, untuk di unit konsultasi dan bantuan hukum sendiri terkait bagaimana menerima perkara, terkait bagaimana pelayanan kita menerima dari luar. Orang-orang yang datang itu biasanya punya kenalan di Fakultas Hukum atau mahasiswa Fakultas Hukum yang memberitahukan bahwa di Fakultas Hukum ada unit konsultasi dan bantuan hukum yang memberikan bantuan hukum secara cuma-cuma. Itulah orang-orang yang mendapat informasi yang kemudian datang untuk meminta bantuan hukum.
Okay, based on the explanation of Mr. Revo, how the UKBH or the unit get the client is based on informal approach. So sometimes our client comes by the acquaintance of the client. These acquaintance know in our faculty have legal aid unit, and then ask them, if you want to get a free legal service, you can come to the faculty of law, or the staff or our faculty, maybe his family, maybe his neighbor, maybe his colleague, and colleague already know they are working in the law faculty, and then maybe take advice, and then our staff say you can come to the law faculty to get a free legal service from PKBH. Sorry, from UKBH or the unit. And Pak Ahmad is the head of the unit. Pak Ahmad, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, Pak Ahmad.
Oke, makasih banyak. Sorry, I can speak English. I am in Indonesia, language Indonesia from information for Mr. Baik, di UKBH itu seperti tadi sudah disampaikan oleh salah satu paralegal kami di UKBH. Jadi memang para pencari keadilan yang datang di UKBH untuk memperoleh pendampingan maupun bantuan hukum itu banyak memperoleh informasi baik dari dosen, kemudian tenaga kependidikan atau mahasiswa, juga ada yang mendapat informasi dari Kanwil Kementerian Hukum dan HAM. Ya, dari Kanwil Kementerian Hukum dan HAM. Biasanya kalau ada yang menelpon, Pak, bisa bicara, Pak, boleh silakan. Terus saya tanya dari mana informasinya, itu yang tadi segmen itu ada dari Kanwil. Nah, kalau mereka datang, kemudian kami tanya apa masalahnya. Ya. Mereka bercerita, menyampaikan, lalu kalau mereka bisa membuat surat atau cakap membuat surat permohonan, maka kami sarankan untuk membuat. Tapi rata-rata yang datang biasanya belum siap untuk membuat permohonan pendampingan. Jadi kami konsepkan, setelah terkonsep, kami suruh baca, kalau setuju mohon ditandatangani, dan permohonan itu ditujukan kepada dekan Fakultas Hukum. Nah, setelah dibuat, kemudian diteruskan ke dekan mendisposisi ke WD2 mendisposisi ke bagian tata usaha atau kepegawaian untuk dibuatkan SK para dosen maupun para legal yang ditugaskan untuk memberikan bantuan hukum kepada para pencari keadilan ini. Nah, setelah jadi surat penugasan, dibuatlah surat kuasa. Nah, surat kuasa inilah yang menjadi dasar bagi kami, baik para dosen maupun para legal, untuk memberikan pendampingan atau bantuan hukum, baik litigasi maupun non litigasi. Saya kira itu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Ahmad. I will translate for you. Mr. Ahmad just explain in more detail how the client come to the unit. And the first one, it's not only our academic staff give our prospect client to come to UKBH. It could also be a student, administrative staff of our faculty, and there is another institution, the regional office of the Ministry of Law, also give recommendation to the community who find free legal service from our faculty. And then after our prospective client come to the UKBH, sometimes at the first time they will do consultation first, and then they tell us about their case and ask them to decide one or not to be accompanied by the unit. If they say so, they want to get legal service from the unit, they have to make an application they can make it by themselves, or sometimes we help them to make application, and then that application is submitted to the dean, and the dean proceed to the administrative, and the dean will issue letter of assignment to us. On the team, there will be a lecturer, there will be senior lecturer, there will be junior lecturer, and there will be practitioner lawyer, and there will be paralegal. Get assigned to help the justice seeker. We call the client as a justice seeker. And then after we get, uh, after we get letter of assignment, and we will get also power of attorney, to accompany them in the front of in the front of court or police. And we also give free legal service not only for litigation but for non-litigation matter. We also provide legal service, something like that. Okay.
That's a very rich one. Thank you for the very detailed responses, both speakers. So now then I can share Dutch experience, at least a full experience based also on the answers that you have given. So we've seen, depending on the objective of the clinic, then there are also different goals and activities that you take. So I can see here you also provide legal advice and also the legal representation in terms of even going to court with the you say justice seeker. That also a very interesting term. First time I hear about this. Yeah, so we also have our clients. So now first I'll use the example of my clinic, but I'll also share experiences of other clinics my colleagues are working on that I work closely with. In my case, international human rights law. So the first reason why I asked, how do you get your clients? Because I see we have quite a variety of clinics here, ranging from, everyday issues, family law, divorce issues, maybe inheritance, but you also have complicated issues, intellectual property, IPR, even consumer protection. That's also quite a complicated area. Environmental issues, they are happening every day, but you don't really get a very good case that you can see, this one, let's take, our students can work on it and we can go to court and win. The same is the situation we have now at Vrije University. Human rights issues, you don't often really hear about. You can hear about human rights violations in the Netherlands, but it's not some cases that you can say every day I find a good case of a proper human rights violations, and there is a client who is willing to take the Dutch government to court for the violation of their human rights. So what I'm doing now is I work with an organization that I know that this is the hot area for human rights violations. Using my prior experiences working as a human rights lawyer in Africa, I'm working with the Pan-African Lawyers Union. This is the organization that offers free legal aid to almost 90% of people, justice seekers, before the African Court and African Court of Human and People's Rights. So the point I'm emphasizing here is you leverage your previous connections. So for those lecturers who also maybe have the license to practice law, you probably know others who are in a situation, maybe they have law firms, maybe people come to them approaching them for advice, but because they cannot afford, then you can work on referral systems. So you can put in place some systems to make referrals for those who want to use services, but they don't have money, then they get contracts and they can contract the clinic. For those who are working with consumers, maybe local government, local organizations, I don't know how to, local NGOs, or community-based organizations, others, so you can establish networks. So that's how also law clinics survive, especially in the Netherlands, especially in the area of international human rights law, areas where there are not so many violations that are common in the Netherlands, but we work with a network of others outside. So there's another clinic, for example, at Vrije University that deals with international criminal law. I know they have been very instrumental in the Malaysian case, where the Malaysian airline plane was gunned down in MH, 730. Yeah, that was in Ukraine, huh? It was,
was rocked by the.
Yeah, they're not really sure, but they believe it is a Russian-made missile. But this law clinic at FU has been very instrumental in that. The issue did not happen in Vrije in the Netherlands, but because of our networks, so you can easily get connections that can assist you to get cases. So the issue number one is once you have established a clinic, you have set the objectives. So the clinic, it can have also several objectives or a combination. It can be to serve the community, but at the same time also offering practical knowledge to your students. Then now the next hurdle will be, what cases are we going to work on? Because it also have to motivate the students, and even you as the staff, you need also to have some motivation, but you also need to have capacity to handle issues that once you get a case, you should understand the resources that you have as a university. Can we then handle, or as a clinic, if we accept this number of people to come for legal aid, can we handle, can we give justice? Can we fund all these cases? If we have 50, 100 or so, I don't know, 300 litigants, justice seekers, are you able to handle them? So that's the other thing. So getting, setting the objectives, priorities, and then now getting the cases. And then in my case, again, I'll refer to that case. So we always work with this organization and we ask them to give us cases where they need research, especially from a comparative perspective. So they want a comparative of how international human rights law applied everywhere else, or how the European Court of Human Rights has dealt with the issue of, let's say, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, if they are working on a case that deals with the violation of that right. Then our students can do the research from the European perspective and then help with drafting of the papers. So that's another way. But, and also maybe a question that's related to that. Sometimes you get also clients who are expecting much from your clinic. Yeah, what their expectations are quite too high. How do you deal? How do you handle those cases? Clients come to you, they have a specific legal challenge that is beyond what the clinic can offer. Maybe we can hear from others, their experience. How do you handle those cases? Clients come, expectations too high. Yeah, sure.
Datang pada kita itu ternyata banyak sekali ekspektasi yang tinggi ya terhadap penanganan kasus. Mungkin Fahri sambil saya ngomong kita jelaskan ke dia supaya tidak terlalu lama, langsung ditranslate. Jadi kalau kita di klinik hukum, karena sebelumnya saya adalah ketua klinik hukum di fakultas ini, kita memberikan sebenarnya ada beberapa pendekatan. Ada yang pertama itu adalah dia basicnya melakukan internship, dia pemagangan kepada mahasiswa kita itu ke instansi-instansi hukum yang ada. Nah, kemudian ketika mereka kemudian mereka melakukan pemagangan, ini kemudian mereka di sana itu akan mendapatkan misal permasalahan hukum. Kalau dia di kejaksaan, dia tahu permasalahan apa. Kalau dia klinik konsumen, dia akan ada dengan BPSK, Badan Penyelesaian Sengketa Konsumen. Nanti di dalamnya itu mereka kemudian akan mendapatkan pengarahan dan petunjuk daripada dosen pendamping lapangannya apa yang akan dikerjakan dan dilakukan. Nah, itu untuk internship. Itu sama dengan klinik hukum pidana, perdata, pidana, lingkungan, dan juga klinik apa lagi namanya anti korupsi. Dan beberapa dari klinik hukum perdata lainnya kecuali klinik mediasi. Nah, klinik mediasi ini agak lebih besar, dia mampu ikut serta dalam penanganan kasus.
Karena kalau dalam di klinik hukum mediasi itu, misal yang lalu bersama dengan Ibu Dr. Wiwi, kita pernah dapat satu kasus seorang tentara itu datang kemudian menusuk pakai tegel ke kepala istri salah satu sesama rekan tentaranya. Pernah juga ada kasus kita bersama dengan Ketua UKBH, waktu itu adalah mediasi mengenai tanah, dua bersaudara yang sengketa tanah. Karena anak-anak ini tidak akan bisa untuk menangani kasus, maka mereka mendapatkan pendampingan daripada dosen, dan khusus kita melakukan infiltrasi berupa bagaimana kemudian dosen kita yang dengan surat kuasa khusus itu bisa hadir di depan pengadilan. Nah, ini kemudian kami menggandeng dari UKBH, karena hanya dari UKBH itu yang memiliki syarat khusus tersebut. Nah, kalau untuk bisa kemudian melihat ekspektasi yang terlalu tinggi kepada mahasiswa kami itu juga membuat kayak semacam SOP dan sekaligus untuk menjadi pengaman kepada mahasiswa bahwa anak-anak itu tidak akan bisa mengikuti kasus itu sampai selesai karena dia hanya 1 semester. Saat ini kita dari untuk membekali mahasiswa kami, biasanya kami memberikan skill tambahan, salah satunya itu adalah dengan mengadakan pelatihan paralegal untuk mereka. Paling tidak untuk bisa beracara singkat dulu di masyarakat. Ya, jadi itu hal-hal yang mungkin kami masih membutuhkan penyempurnaan di dalam ini kasus dalam mahasiswa klinik hukum, dan kami beruntung karena punya UKBH dan PKBH yang bisa mengarahkan nanti adik-adik untuk melihat real case-nya. Untuk kelas sendiri awal biasanya kalau saya kelas itu klinik hukum, karena saya ketua klinik hukum waktu itu, supaya mereka sadar apa sih yang dimaksud dengan klinik hukum itu, biasanya I will gonna give them hypothetical case. Jadi saya akan memberikan dulu kasus rekayasa yang saya bangun, kemudian nanti mereka akan melihat supaya kelihatan social awareness-nya, social justice awareness-nya, supaya kelihatan bahwa kalau misalnya di Indonesia tidak semua orang itu beruntung bisa membayar ataupun mendapatkan pendampingan hukum. Setelah itu baru kami masuk ke dalam doktrin berkaitan dengan isu spesifik daripada masing-masing klinik hukumnya. Ya, demikian.
Is that another contribution? For this course?
Saya tadi sempat cerita dengan teman kalau di beberapa pengadilan itu mereka memang apa ya tidak memberikan akses yang besar kepada mahasiswa itu untuk hadir di hadapan pengadilan dan bahkan untuk pembahasan juga tidak diberikan akses kepada mereka. Jadi upaya yang dilakukan dalam gerakan kita di beberapa universitas yang menganggap penting untuk klinik hukum itu kita berusaha berlindung di dalam surat kuasa khusus itu kalau misalnya bisa masuk dalam kasus. Jadi dia lebih banyak anak-anak belajar mengenai apa deh syukur dan mana. Iya.
Proceed now. Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you very much also for sharing those experiences. So, yeah, a lot was shared here. We were talking of managing expectations as a coordinator of a clinic. So it does happen. And in most cases, you have sometimes clients who come in and they have too much expectations of what they can get from your clinic. So another important thing or how we deal with this problem is to have also a strong referral system. So in the same way you build a network for those who assist you maybe with cases, you need also to create a network on how to handle or to give other cases that you can not assist. So we have a referral system where if you get a case where you think the client wants more, then there are certain organizations that may be in a position to help the client in a better way or the justice seeker in a better way, then you can then hand over their names to those people. Of course, everything being dealt with the consent of the client and in confidentiality. So we have some sort of database. In most of our clinics, we have our database of who are our partners. So even though we are a university clinic, we have most of the people we work with are outside the university. We work with courts. We have direct access to clerks of courts. We have direct access to organizations that are working in certain specialties. So organizations that are working with women and children, for example, organizations that funds litigation. There's Open Society Initiative. I think you've heard about that. George Soros organization. It has been, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch. So if we know that, we believe that, maybe there is a client, they need this particular kind of documentation of human rights. For instance, when the war broke up in Ukraine, one of the International Law Clinic again was also involved in mapping up the violence. They were not involved in, as like some of the courts, clinics here, you don't just give litigation, don't go to court, but sometimes you also help with legal advice and the other legal services. So we also partnered with an organization that was helping with documentation of cases of violations of international criminal law in Ukraine. But we did this with another organization, and then sometimes we combine also even work between clinics. So we have the Technology Law Clinic at Vrije University Amsterdam, also helping with developing an app that was used also to monitor human rights violations. And of late, I have to follow that up. We also helped to develop a robot, a robo-lawyer. So it is an app that would deal with very small offenses. This was really very effective for our Dutch community. It was helping with like parking offenses. If you get a parking ticket violation, so this robo-lawyer you enter the details, but it would give you details, okay, what specific type of crime or what help you can get or which government department you need to report to, or if you want to contest it. Yeah, so these are some of the small things that we do, but this was a combination of two law clinics working together. And I can see, for instance, here that you have the mediation, you have also then the legal aid board. So there can also be a combination to have at least you have focal persons. So one from this should know what the others are also doing, and sometimes you can then combine resources, or with the community outreach, then you can also with a different law clinic say, let's go to the communities, and but this time we are going to teach them about cryptocurrencies. I know at the other law, there are others who are working on cyber law, right? Cyber crimes. Yeah, it's very common now. I don't know here, but many people, you receive these emails, somebody saying, oh, I have $1 million. If you give me your account number, then I can transfer, these kind of crimes. Yeah.
Is crime in technology. We got client, he got fraud by the illegal lender. Yeah, and then he got lending from this illegal business, and then she got imposed by interest is almost 60%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we help this client to deal with this kind of illegal transaction.
Exactly. That's a good example. So, but you can imagine there are many people in such situations who can be vulnerable to this. So you can then combine those who are working on cyber crimes, can then partner with the law clinic, that is, for example, doing community outreach, and then you can targeting specific kind of maybe, yeah. Oh, there's a contribution.
There is a contribution from
Behind. Oh, okay, sure.
What's this? Okay, sorry for being late. I'm just finished my class. So I wonder, is this clinic, in this clinic on your program, will be the students face directly to the court, or attending court session, or just sitting behind and listening and watching and making notes?
Thank you. Very good question, by the way. Although I'm recycling these notes from a different, but yeah, I'll give an example of, for instance, some of our clinics, like my clinic, it's mostly we are doing, it's litigation, but we are doing most research work for the lawyers who are appearing, because this is an international court. So this is the African Court on Human and People's Rights. I know another case, our other clinic helped with the Malaysian Airlines case, but this is before the International Criminal Court. And as you know, even for lawyers, it's very hard to appear before the International Criminal Court. So our students cannot even get anywhere there. But yeah, but they can, of course, have the right to sit and hear. But also International Criminal Court does not want, when they are working with law clinics, you are not supposed to mention that you are working with them. They don't want a certain law school to be associated with them, because that's an indirect promotion of that law school. So in the Netherlands, the court cannot really say that we use information from UNHAS, because it's not allowed. Then it seems like they are promoting UNHAS. But when we are dealing with the law clinic, for example, the one that is dealing with environmental law, climate change, environmental law, the cases, they are taking them before a regulatory body. It's a semi-judicial institution. So they are not, it's not a full court, but it's also like an administrative adjudicatory. So our students are responsible for drafting the papers, but they also appear there together with the coordinator. Yeah, but the students are doing most of the work. Like 60–70% of the work, it's the student, and they get there to appear. So last time our students appeared against the lawyers from Shell, Shell Corporation.
Shell Corporation?
Yeah, and of course they won. Yes.
I mean, did your student directly face to face with a professional lawyers as their opponent in the courtroom?
Sorry.
I mean, are they directly appear in front of the court and face to face with the professional lawyers?
Yes, yes, this one, so this was not
Wow.
a court, this was a board. This is a board that regulates advertisements. So our students, they were arguing that the advertisement by Shell was misleading.
Oh,
Yeah, so they drafted the document, submitted to the board. The board then can sit like a court. And
Uh-oh.
Shell was defending its position. So yes, and then the lawyers from Shell came after receiving very big bonuses, by the way, because last year Shell made a lot of profit. So they were really super motivated. And then we have our students not receiving anything, but they still argued a case and won. So it's reported in the newspapers. You can also check it. Free University Climate Change Law Clinic against Shell.
Oh.
So twice we beat Shell twice, and recently the same law clinic has won against Unilever again for misleading adverts.
So we are really facing a lot of boundaries here because since our courtroom is so very, very administrative. So
Yeah.
only those who have a card of recognition as a advocate
Yes.
will be allowed by the judge to sit in front of them.
Yes, yes. That's also a very good question, by the way, because this also, when I'm teaching, because I'm also helping coordinating law clinics, not only at Free University, but this experience I share, I'm doing the same in East Africa, in Ethiopia, Uganda, Rwanda. They are the issues of representation. So students can only do much. Even lecturers can also not appear before this. That's why I say sometimes you can then refer the case or work with a partner who has legal standing or who is allowed to appear in court. Again, another difference in the Netherlands and in a number of continental European countries, the right to appear in court is not limited to lawyers. So in the Netherlands, you can take your uncle to be your representative in court. Yeah, so although of course the title advocate is for someone who has gone through law school, but the right to appear before and argue is open. Yeah, it's the same with Sweden. So that's the yeah, and a few other countries. So that also one thing that makes it also a bit easier for those in the law clinics in the Netherlands, if they choose, of course, to go before the courts, but they rarely do that. There is another danger I must also share with you of taking cases to court, especially what our law clinic is doing, the one on climate change. They are lucky that they have been winning most of these cases. In some cases, if you lose such a case, it can also have a negative impact on the clinic. So you also have to, weigh the pros and cons. So look at the advantages and the disadvantages of taking a particular case before you can go ahead. So that's why sometimes you also need to have like some sort of a litigation committee. Yeah. And then you can decide with others, look, this is a case I've received in my clinic. What do you think about this? And it's the image of our institution if we are to take this kind of case. So you can imagine a certain religious institution taking a case on behalf of gays and lesbians. So that can also have negative impact, maybe on the care on your institution, maybe with your board and others. So those are some of the things also you need to take into consideration. But so different cases have had different law clinics, at least at Free University, they have had different experiences. Whereas others, like this law clinic on climate change, the students have appeared before judicial officers, semi-judicial officers. My students, for example, in the International Law Clinic, other students in International Criminal Law Clinic, although they are doing a fantastic job, but the fora where the cases are being decided, the International Criminal Court, the African Court on Women and People's Rights, will never allow students to argue. Yeah, so, but they can take part if they are lucky, like my case, the cases are decided in Arusha, Tanzania, where the court is based. So we cannot go there, but now we heard that, they are planning to have cases virtually. So maybe our students can attend a virtual conference, virtual court hearing. But yeah, so the clinic can give students different experience. Sometimes litigation on its own is also quite good. Just drafting the papers is also something that is also good experience, but sometimes also even going through the whole process stages from drafting, from helping with drafting the papers, even to interviewing. So the other, I will also share the other experience I had in Tanzania, in Rwanda. The students were involved in interviewing clients. They were involved in drafting the cases. They were also involved in handing when the cases are now being taken to court, because they are lecturers. All the coordinators, they have licenses to practice. So the students would also accompany them. They will sit in a position where they can also hear the proceedings, and they could hear, those things that they put in the documents being used in the court. Their lecturer is arguing on those principles, so they benefit in terms of observing the whole process. But this can also be complemented, for instance, by internships in those courts. So in addition to clinics, you can also then maybe combine it with internships, or those students you can tell with procedural. So you can also try to see if there are weaknesses in your law clinic. How do I cover for these weaknesses? Maybe I can make my students join or go on internship. In my case, I can make my students have a day visit at the International Criminal Court and sit and watch the proceedings. So these are also some of the ways you can then leverage to make sure that when teaching or coordinating, because it's not about teaching, by the way. So a law clinic is not teaching, you are coordinating, because these are practical skills. And you cannot teach practical skills, but you can help coordinate and also give students enough time to reflect. That's also another key point we have at the clinics, that we give them enough time to do the research, but also to reflect on the cases that they are working on. I think you have a follow-up question, is that? Very good question. Also, I think I had in my slides, and again, the issue of credits. So I usually talk about that when I'm talking about motivation, because we have so many clinics. It is at Free University, almost a number of courses. They have their clinics, a good number of courses. Environmental, human rights, criminal, refugee law. Everybody is just coming up with these clinics. Some clinics can only survive 2 years or 2 semesters, and then they disappear. Others have been around for some time. But there's the issue of motivating students to join your clinic, because there's so much choice. They can decide to go there, to go to the other one. And so how do you motivate? So we have to fight to give them credits. So like in my one, this one, I think it's 12, I can actually quickly check, but I think we give them 12 credits for the, but the thing is, it doesn't matter whether they are only with us for 1 term or for 2 terms, because the challenge is sometimes when you get a case, for example, with students, you don't know when the case was going to be determined and finished to its logical conclusion. So some students can start a case and then the semester come to an end before the case has been heard. And you have to release them. Yes. So how do you then deal with this issue? But it's also in terms of now judging, assessing the students. So you cannot say, I will assess you on the basis that the case has been won in court or so. No, that would be unfair. But you have to change also, of course, you look at what input they have given. But there's also then the issue that, okay, we just give you these credits, and I give them, in my case, I give them an opportunity or an option to also come back, but they will not get extra credit if they still want to see the case until it's finished. Yeah. So you have also to improvise, because it will be difficult, of course, to negotiate with the board to say, give my students double credit for, something that will be one course. Yeah. 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 Okay. 2 credits. Yeah.
What semester?
No. So yeah, for my one, it's I don't look at the semester in which they are. I look at the requirements. So at least they should have done certain cases. Also, depending on the case I have, sometimes I have a case of people who are seeking to defend themselves from unlawful eviction, for example. The government want to evict people because they want to build a new city. So these clients that we have, they want knowledge on international law relating to self-determination or, the right to develop in an area. So I then make a call for application, and then I say, oh, for this to participate in this semester's clinic, you should know environmental law, and you should know a procedural law, and you should be able to work in a group or something like that. But I also try to give much freedom so that I get students in different stages, so that even the students themselves can also supervise themselves among themselves. So then I put them in teams, and others with a bit more knowledgeable in certain areas can help their, in the same way that lawyers, when your students finish, they are going to join law firms where they will also work with senior counsels, junior counsels, and so forth. So I try to already create that relationship, even at this level, that they should be able to communicate effectively and work with others in a team. And yeah, it's all about research after all. Huh? You win or lose a case in the library. I always motivate them that, look, it's about research. This is how you win or lose a case. It's in the library. And yeah, so these are the requirements. So we don't necessarily, so sometimes I have students who are already finishing. Yeah, the course, yes. So depending on what we have, which area of law, and then I just emphasize you should have done this specific course before you can join the clinic. Yeah, it's messed up. Yeah, yeah. So that's I see. Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah, because I think your system I admire it, because once students get this kind of experiential learning just before graduation, they are already in a position where they are ready to step into the practical world. So it's also good that you are already motivating them at that stage. You are already giving them tools to directly get into the practice of law. But ours is a bit more, I find it more flexible, but you can also understand Dutch students, by the way, even in their early stages, they are very motivated. Yeah, so you put them in a room, you ask them, they are already very quite advanced. International law is, well, in different areas of law, I find Dutch students to be very bright, I mean, above the average. In some cases, in my law clinic, for example, I even look not only at the course requirements, but I get CVs of students. Yeah, because I always ask students to send a motivation and a CV. So I get students who are telling me that, I was working with the embassy already in Egypt for 3 months. Or I worked in Burundi, I worked in Tanzania, volunteered with Amnesty International for people who were displaced for 6 months. So they also already have wealth of experience. And I'm working on a case directly related to what they have already done in their internship. So that's why sometimes we also give opportunities to students who are even in the early stages, but because they already took an opportunity sometimes to go abroad and do 1 year abroad, just working with an international organization. So that's the other difference that I find also between Dutch students and students in other countries. Our students, especially at Free University, they have enormous experience even at a young age. And also because of access to international institutions in The Hague, some of our students have already interned at the International Criminal Court. So they are familiar with some of the cases already. So that also makes it easier to get them into the clinic, because they are coming also with wealth of experience, and they still need extra anyway. So this is also maybe some things, yeah, that differs. But also, I would also encourage that you can also try to see if students can also work with some of the institutions that you have good relations with, to make sure that students can also go do internship. You don't have to wait until students are towards the end of completing their degrees, but they could also start internship immediately. Yeah, there's no really like right or wrong time for learning your practical stuff. because law really is about experiential learning. So once you teach them in class, giving them notes, but they still need the practice. So the more practice they get, like the English saying, practice makes perfect. So the more practice they get, the better lawyers they become. Yeah.
Wow, we already discussed about many aspects of legal clinic, yeah, and the time flies. But it is 1 hour. Yeah, it's already 1 hour. Yeah, sorry, but it is great opportunity to hear from you, Dr. Prosper, about experience from the Netherlands, and maybe we can discuss it more, and maybe we can learn each other about how to develop our legal clinic in the future. I feel sorry to the our distinguished guests about our workshop is have to be over. Yeah, but I think the this not the end. Yeah, we will meet again informal or by Zoom. Many ways to discuss about the legal clinic. Okay, I am as a moderator say thank you for your presentation. It is great to hear experience from the Netherlands, especially from the full university, and we hope can meet again in another event discussing about legal clinic. And I think you have to come to our legal clinic also to see our dedicated office. Yeah, so you can. Okay. Thank you from me. I'm sorry if there is some mistake in this event. I say Alhamdulillah. Thank you again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you. Assalamualaikum. Thank you.